Welcome back, everyone, to In the Weeds. I'm Jeremy Lambert. That is SP3, and we got a special guest here on today's show from MLW, Alex Hammerstone. Hammer, how you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. What's going on?
As always.
Yeah, well, for everybody watching, I'm late to this because it was leg day and I couldn't not finish leg day.
Good reason. You know what? We've had wrestlers be late before. Their reason is not as good as we can't sleep that day. Yeah. In the words of Jay-Z, people skip leg day to run their mouth. Hammer, he's here not skipping leg day, and still, not sure if you're gonna run your mouth and
Still here to run my mouth.
so all right. You said it, not me. You said it. Let's get right into it. Summer of the Beast, you and MJF reunited backstage. He was feeling you up. He had to get a good feel on the pecs there. Uh, what was it like seeing MJF again backstage?
You know, we've had a few chances over the last couple of years where we run into each other, but it hasn't been as frequent as I like. We have stayed in touch, you know. It's always a little difficult because um we know how this world works. So when when all of a sudden you have that friend who takes off to the top of the mountaintop, I'm sure he's got so many people in his phone. Hey brother, how you doing? Hey brother, hey bro. So I never want to be that guy because I always felt like me and Max had a very genuine friendship. So, I've always managed to keep in touch with him without being overbearing. But like I said, we haven't had a lot of chances to see each other in person. So that whole day was just wild because I had a red eye flight to get to New York. And so of course I'm at the venue sleeping on the couch as expected. And I feel a shake and it's Court. And he goes, I got a surprise for you, right? I was like, what's up? He goes, you miss MJF? You want to see him? You want to see Max today? And I was just like, no, that's not happening. There's no way that is happening. Like, even with how crazy the world of professional wrestling has become, where you get these crossovers and you're seeing these partnerships and these work togethers, um, it was like that's not happening. He's like, yeah, yep. But then even once I realized that Court was like, yeah, this is happening, there's part of my brain that goes, you think it's happening. Like you think you made the deal, but it's pro wrestling. It's not happening until it's happening. So then a couple hours later, when I get the grab of my shoulder and got to see Max, it was like a really cool moment.
That was genuinely like when it happened, I was like, that's one of the most surprising moments in wrestling,
Yeah.
certainly this year and for a while, because I don't think anybody expected MJF to return to MLW in that fashion. Like to pull that off, like full kudos to MLW for pulling that off. It was spectacular.
Yeah, 100%. Excuse me. Yeah, this day and age, it's really hard to keep things hush hush, keep things kayfabe, and have a surprise for the night before some idiot is, spilling the beans to the internet early. But yeah, to get to pull that off, well, it was pretty cool.
So how do you look back on that time with you and MJF starting out in MLW? Because that was like really important to your rise to the top and winning the MLW heavyweight championship with your time with the Dynasty with MJF and Richard Holiday. How do you kind of reflect back on that time and how much it was that important to your journey?
I always say that, like, if wrestling ends tomorrow for me, if I have a match tomorrow and God forbid broke my neck, wrestling's over. That those will be some of the fondest times I get to look back on. I think it's some of the greatest stuff we created. A lot of people, um, you know, MLW is a great company. It's a great promotion. They put out a lot of quality stuff. But they aren't the biggest juggernaut in the professional wrestling world. For a lot of people, they still are waiting to discover MLW or you know, but at that time, like what we were doing was like, it's crazy that 5 years later, like people are still talking about it. Like I run into people at independent shows and they're talking about Dynasty, bro, or they're quoting promos we did, or a Hogan Pan, or gift train, or all these little Dynasty little gimmicks that we did, and it's just like we did something that exceeded maybe what people thought the potential of the reach we had at the time was. And that's not to take any credit from anybody else, because at that time in MLW, there was a lot of people working really hard. There was a lot of really great stuff going on, and we were just happened to be one of those acts, but we didn't realize, at the time, we weren't like putting all this extra thought into these promos, and that, oh, we gotta say something that's gonna be catchy for the internet. We were just three guys having a great time together, and obviously that came across in the way that people resonated with, and I think that's incredible. I think that's what pro wrestling is all about.
And working with Richard Holiday again with his show upcoming, facing Bear Bronson, which Bear Bronson has been killing it on the independent scene since he's gotten back out there. Talk to us a little bit about this match and working with Richard Holiday as he's kind of venturing out on his own a little bit and now running his own show.
Yeah, obviously the three of us, we all went our own directions, and we're all just trying to build our own careers, and um, trying to find our own paths per se. But yeah, that's going to be a great event. For his first time organizing a professional wrestling show. Um, it's got a lot of really interesting wrestlers on it, a lot of very talented wrestlers. First time matchup like me and Bear. That's gonna be a good one. You're looking at a guy like him who, through a set of very unfortunate circumstances that he had no control over, his career kind of got like ripped out from underneath it. And instead of you're doing boo-hoo and crying about it, he's working very hard. He's got a chip on his shoulder, and he wants to prove something. And that resonates with me where I'm at in my stage of my career right now, because I had a couple unfortunate things happen, and I let it tear me apart. I fell apart, and I was in a real bad spot, and through a you know, couple different things happening, through Court Bauer reaching out and giving me the chance to come back to MLW, and feel that love all over again. Like I'm in that spot now. I'm going, hey, I'm not a has-been. My best days aren't behind me. I have that chip on my shoulder, so I think it's going to be a really interesting clash.
So yeah, talking about that return to MLW and Summer of the Beast, it was great to see you kind of back home in MLW with that crew over there. But you had a little bit of an issue in your matchup because you were advertised to face Ultimo Guerrero one-on-one, and then Matthew Justice injected himself into the festivities, and you had a lot to say after the match. So do you have anything you want to get off your chest in regards to that and getting your a one-on-one matchup that you were advertised for?
Yeah, talk about having some bullshit put in your way that's out of your control, right? All I'll say is this: I didn't lose that match. I didn't get pinned in that match. Um, and let's take it back a couple of years. National Openweight title. I didn't lose that championship. I never got pinned for that championship. We're looking, we're looking at a trail of corruption, you know, almost as big as my biceps. It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't add up. You know, as far as I'm concerned, I should still have the championship. But if you wanna honor, the thing that I did and relinquish it all those years ago, sure, you could say Ultima's the champion. But the one thing you can't say is Matt Justice is the champion. He shouldn't have been in the match. It shouldn't have gone down that way. And I think you call it Summer of the Beasts. Yeah, me and Ultima, we were beasts. And then that greasy hair bozo, he was the clown. He made it Summer of the Clowns. He made that whole match a joke. And let's just say he pissed off the wrong beast.
You asked people to rate your spine buster on a scale of Ron Simmons to Ferrari.
Oh man, do you see how much hate I got for that because of people putting it to choke slam? I can clearly see your hand is on his throat. How can you clearly see something when his back is facing? His head was on his chest. You know, kind of like the same way that Ron Simmons would push you down when he did the thrust spine buster. You can go down to the mat with him. Kind of the same way Ron Simmons would do the spine buster. I digress. It's kind of like a hybrid choke slam spine buster. I know it's somewhere in the middle. But that being said, every wrestling fan who wants to make, don't you even know that? No, I don't know. I don't know what the wrestling. So, can you please write me? Tell me about your thesis on what makes chokeslam different than a spine buster.
It's very funny because I think when people think spine buster, they're like, "Oh, Arn Anderson. That's the model of a spine buster." Like you using Ron Simmons to Farouk, you're making it very clear this is who I'm modeling the spine buster after. And if you have
Yeah, that's what's funny. If I would have said rate my spine buster 1 to 10, people go, "That's not how you do a spine buster." But when you say rate my spine buster, Ron Simmons to Farouk, that would make someone go, what does that even mean? Let me look up a Farouk spine buster. Clearly see why he does it.
this. So yeah, you're being very intentional with this, and then for people to be like, "That's not a spine buster," it's like, I don't know. I don't know. I give it 5 Farouk. You don't know what my scale is, but 5 Farouks.
Wait, Farouk, that's good.
I have been gifted this grace somewhere in the last couple months where I just don't take anything like seriously anymore when it comes to the internet. I used to. I used to have tweets and I'd sit there and I'd fester and I'd think of how I could burn this person. And sometimes I still respond. Don't get me wrong. But like when I respond, it's not like out of hatred and oh, I gotta get you. It's like I'm laughing. I'm laughing because on the other side of the computer, these people are fired up. They are very mad about this spine buster. you know? And it is, if I respond to them and they respond back to that, they're sitting there waiting all day to see if I say something again. Like they are checking their phone, like, oh my God, he doesn't have anything smart to say. But it's like realistically, I just don't care. But like this is consuming you. This is rotting you from inside out. And meanwhile, it was just like yeah, I made a comment. I don't care.
So the real question is what era of Ron Simmons do you prefer the most? WCW Ron, Blue Helmet Farouk?
Easy, bro. Acolytes. I know the APA was cool, but like Acolytes was when I was like first starting to really get to watch wrestling on a consistent basis. And I didn't even like get the gimmick. I don't even, but like they were part of the Ministry of Darkness. I was just like, that's the shit. So also the best Bradshaw too.
Yes.
I'm sure you've told this story before, but since it's you just put it up, the Flashback Friday from the George Washington Hammerstone being part of this New Day segment.
Okay.
But how did all this come about, and what was it like working with those guys?
All right. So I was working extra work for the WWE, and I had like some tryouts, and I was like at a phase where I was like talking with the company, like really close to like possibly signing, and I'm doing this extra work, and early in the day we're supposed to have matches, like little tryout matches, and then I'm there ready to go, and it's also 4th of July weekend, like it's literally 4th of July. That was the gimmick. So because of that holiday, none of the important players are there. Look, Triple H wasn't there. Vince wasn't even there, which is super rare. Like a lot of like the main office players weren't there. So there's nobody important like who could be like a decision maker to see us as extras. And then before like we're about to do matches, they come down and say, "Hey, we don't have time to do matches today. Go ahead and go change." And I was just like, why am I even here? Because a lot of people like to do extra work where they go for the first time, they get to experience the WWE backstage. They get to dress up as a security guard and be on TV and say, hey, mom, look, out of the security guard. I had already done that. Like I was at the stage where I said, I'm saying, I'm here for a job. I'm taking this super serious. Um, and so then they come back and they say, oh, hey, we need all the extras. We're going to dress up, come get some costumes. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I'm not doing that. So I didn't do it. I didn't go to the rehearsals. I didn't get a costume. I didn't do anything. But I was 1 week away from a bodybuilding competition. So I was in incredible shape and I knew I looked great. I was super tanned. I was super lean, super ripped. And, right before it happened, I just had this like voice in my head of like, if you get a chance to be on TV, go be on TV. And so I went to the costume truck. And I was like, hey, I forgot to grab my costume. And they gave me this full George Washington costume. I had like this big coat and this and that. And I threw all of it to the side, put on the wig, and went out there just to show off my body on TV. I made sure I was positioned all the way towards the hard cam so that the hard cam would see me. And we were standing backstage to go out, and two funny things happened. First of all, John Cena walked by, and he's walking, and then he stops, and he goes, walked backwards, like in his, like retraced his steps, and he turned and he just, well, and then that's it. And then the other thing that happened was the producer who had planned the segment walked over to us and he was like, wait, were you at the rehearsals? And then he's like, and then they were like, okay, we're going out. And I just ran through the curtain. It couldn't stop me. So yeah, basically that whole segment, I didn't even know what we were supposed to be doing. I was just like, I'm going to get myself on TV and I'm going to look good doing it. And hopefully somebody backstage is like, man, who's this guy? And of course, that didn't pan out, but it was still a fun time nonetheless.
You look like a stripper, George Washington. I mean that as a compliment.
Realistically, that's about all I was.
Well, last year you got to go back to WWE. You appeared on NXT. Tell us about like that experience and working with someone like Tony D'Angelo. And did you get any feedback from anybody backstage?
Yeah, that was a really incredible, like, full circle experience because you're talking about these times when, I'm going backstage as an extra and just hoping to have a tryout match versus showing up at NXT. All the coaches know who I am. They know all about me. Agents are helping us put together a match. They're familiar with my work. They're, oh, hey, do that. Oh, you want to hit that missile drop kick you do, or, and it was just such a 180, from being this guy who was just begging for a spot and begging to be noticed and hoping that if I wore a George Washington wig and oiled myself up, that someone would see me. So, hey, Hammerstone, thank you for coming. We're happy to have you. And getting to do it that way. And everyone was just so professional. All the feedback I got was great the whole time. Yeah, it was a positive experience through and through. I'm glad I got to do it.
Hammer, before I let you go, we play a game on the channel. I don't remember if we played this with you last time. Partner, promo, punch in the face. Maybe 3 names, one to partner with, one to promo against, one person to punch in the face, basically have a match with, all right? 3 names. Ultimo Guerrero. We're going to go with Josh Alexander, man you're pretty familiar with. And we will go with the person you faced on NXT, Tony D'Angelo.
So, partner with, promo, what?
Promo again.
Promo against.
Yeah.
Or punch in the face.
Yes.
Okay. I'll punch Tony D'Angelo because he walked out of our match. I'll promo against Ultimo because he didn't speak English, so he won't be able to come up with a smart comeback. And I'll partner with Josh because he's one of the very best wrestlers in the world. He brought out the best of me. I love Josh. And, there's not enough good things I can say about him.
Hammer, we appreciate you joining us here. Let everybody know where they can find you at and what you got coming up.
Yeah, on Alex Hammerstone on Twitter and Instagram, Alexander Hammerstone on Facebook. Honestly, anywhere you're at, any internet, Fightful community. If you look up Hammerstone, I'm mostly likely what's coming up. But yeah, we got some big shows with MLW coming up down the road in September. I believe we're in Dallas or Houston or somewhere in Texas. We're doing it big. I think I'm gonna get my hands on that greaseball Matt Justice. All I know is every show we've had since I've been back has been a sellout. So do the smart thing, look it up. I don't have all the information right now, but you want to look up, go to MLW.com, go to their Twitter, do what you have to do. Get your tickets because they're going to sell out and they're going to be left wishing you were there. Yeah, and I'm doing plenty of other cool stuff outside of the company, but for now, just follow along for the journey because it's going to be a wild ride.
And it is MLW Fightland. It is in the Dallas, Fort Worth area. That's September 13th, everybody. So there you get your ticket.
Get paid to do what you do.
I try. Hammer, again, we appreciate you joining us.
Same to you, Hammer.
Guys, we'll be right back here on In the Weeds.
You guys.